Hey there, my name's Curtis Lucas, and you're watching Empire Building. So I wanted to get to this video a lot sooner than I did because today is a very special day that some of you may not even be aware of. Today is Bitcoin's birthday. 12 years ago today, the very first block on the Bitcoin network was mined. This is what's known as the Genesis block, mined by none other than Satoshi Nakamoto himself. And he took that opportunity to leave behind a message encoded in the Coinbase of that original block. By now, many of you probably already know what that message was. Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. This was the headline on the front page of the Times London newspaper. Clearly, Bitcoin's creator saw that this technology had the ability to give people an option to opt out of this central bank controlled currencies that we've all been forced to live with for our entire lives. There's no way he could have predicted that Bitcoin would become as powerful as it is today, 12 years later. And as we all know, today we have no way of knowing who Satoshi Nakamoto was. There sure are a lot of conspiracies out there, but we're not going to dwell on those. My opinion on that whole situation is that the fact that Satoshi Nakamoto was never discovered and never revealed himself is one of the things that gives Bitcoin its power. It's one of the reasons why Bitcoin can never be replicated. You can clone the code and start your own blockchain all you want. It's never going to be able to replace or compete with Bitcoin. And I'll explain to you why. Satoshi Nakamoto is no longer a person. He's an idea. He's an abstract thought. You see, if he was a real person, if he had an identity, if you knew what his political beliefs were, what his religious beliefs were, if you knew what he looked like, if he was a man or a woman, or perhaps he actually was a group of people, it doesn't matter. If we knew who he was, then we could disagree with him. He would be trolled online. You could dig into his past. You could find something that you didn't like and point to that one thing and see that's why Bitcoin is flawed, because that person is flawed. But today, Bitcoin has become what we collectively have made it to be. It no longer belongs to him. But whatever the case may be, Bitcoin is here now. And I'm sure if you're like me, you've often wondered what it would have been like if you could have gone back to that time, or at least been somehow aware of its existence and gotten involved back then. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that the reality is most people, when they first discovered it, even Satoshi Nakamoto himself, were skeptics. I've never met a single person who heard about Bitcoin and was instantly fascinated. Everybody had to be convinced, including him. And besides, I don't think people who were involved back then felt very differently than a lot of the people entering this space today. Far too many people still think this is something they're going to hold for a month, 2, 6, 12 months, and then sell it for fiat currency so they can run off and do something else. Like as if they somehow think that after they sell it, it's just going to disappear. Or maybe they just believe it's going to behave like it has in the past and crash 80 or 90%. I'm of the opinion that this time really, truly is different. And anyone who believes Bitcoin is going to do exactly what it has done in the past is going to be sorely mistaken. I said it before. I think this will be the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. But as all previous events of this nature, that transfer of wealth will again go from the poor to the rich. Unfortunately, this is as always the case. The poor will sell it to the rich willingly, thinking that they got all they needed from it. And it is because of this mindset that even if you did know of Bitcoin back then, you would have been like so many others at the time who might have picked it up for $10 to $50 and sold it for $500. At the time, it would have seemed like a pretty darn good decision. And here's the crazy part about it. It wasn't even that long ago. You've probably got socks in your sock drawer older than Bitcoin. To put this into perspective, do you realize what the #1 song was on the Billboard when the very first block of Bitcoin was mined? It was Single Ladies by Beyonce. Less than 2 weeks after the Genesis block for Bitcoin was mined, Barack Obama was inaugurated as the 44th President of the United States. And now, please don't take this opportunity to go absolutely berserk down in the comments section. So I think it's rather fitting that Bitcoin celebrated this special day by breaking out to form a massive new all-time high. I'm as anxious as everyone else is to see how the markets will respond when the bell rings tomorrow morning. It is not lost on me that the RSI indicator for Bitcoin is approaching the highest level it's ever been, even higher than the 2017 bubble. So I'm not going to sit here and say that there's absolutely no way you should be taking profits. There's nothing wrong with that. But just try not to get carried away. Nobody knows what Bitcoin is going to do next. 2021 is certainly shaping out to be a phenomenal year for anyone invested in this space. But dare I remind you, this is a paradigm shifting technology. This is not something you get involved with for a year and then leave. Go ahead and take your profits. But there's going to be far more opportunities than just mining companies that will begin to surface as time goes on. Just continue to educate yourself. And as always, go get yourself some Bitcoin. Know what it's like to hold it yourself, not on the exchange. Go and get yourself one of these. This is a ledger device. This is where I hold all my cryptocurrency. That is, except for the Ethereum that's in my validator. But in actual fact, you don't actually hold Bitcoin on this device. I could take this device, destroy it. I could burn it, throw it in the garbage, flush it down the toilet. My Bitcoin would still be safe. This does not hold your Bitcoin. Bitcoin is held on the blockchain. This simply holds your private keys. As long as you still have your key, you still have your coin. This is why Andreas Antonopoulos always says, not your keys, not your coins. I do believe that Bitcoin mining companies do offer a far better return on investment than holding Bitcoin itself. But Bitcoin is going to be a part of your future. So at some point, you definitely want to get yourself some. I recommend getting some. Now, even throw $100 on one of these things. It doesn't really matter, but know what it's like to hold it. Know what it's like to use it. It will improve your understanding. I think that there are many people that are investing in this and who view it as simply a way to get more fiat, which is totally backwards in my mind. What you should be thinking is, how do you get more Bitcoin? Because that's what I want at the end of this. I want more assets. I have no interest in fiat. And by fiat, obviously, I mean actual currency. US dollars, Canadian dollars, doesn't really matter. Euros. All of these currencies are debasing right in front of our eyes. The wealthy have clued into this. This isn't the only protection that Bitcoin offers us as a technology. There's obviously a whole lot more that it can do for us. But this is currently the story getting the attention. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, instead of asking yourself, where's Bitcoin going to be on January 1st, 2022? You should be asking yourself, where's it going to be on January 1st, 2033, 12 years from today? Because in my opinion, what we're witnessing right now is Bitcoin reaching critical mass. As Michael Saylor put it, it's big enough that it can't be defeated, but small enough that 99% of the world's population does not understand it. That's a sweet spot. And that is why we're witnessing the institutional adoption that's occurring as we speak. I was curious to know if the Times had caught on to the fact that this anniversary had come up. So I checked the front cover of the newspaper, and no mention of Bitcoin. This tells me they still are not paying attention. Funny story, I did a video on this topic months ago, and I actually paid for a subscription for the Times newspaper so that I could gain access to their archives and read the full article that was written that day. After which, when I called to cancel my subscription, of course they tried to keep me, and they asked me why I signed up for it in the first place. And I told them that I wanted to read this article that Satoshi Nakamoto had referenced in the Genesis block of the Bitcoin network. And they had no idea what I was talking about. It won't be long before you'll start hearing other people telling you to invest in Bitcoin and blockchain. and how much money they made off of it. It'll come from everywhere, from people who have never invested a day in their lives. That's usually the signal that we are approaching bubble territory. So if you do want to look for indicators, that might be your best bet. When random strangers in public are talking to you about Bitcoin, then sure, take a little bit off the top. But recognize this isn't going anywhere. And if you are going to take something off the top, please don't just buy a Lambo. For God's sakes, build something with it. Turn it into a cash flowing asset, something that pays you while you sleep. That is the ticket to wealth. And then the cash flow from that asset, you can funnel it right back into actual Bitcoin. That is my plan. And all I need is one of these. Take control of your money. Understand this technology and make it a part of your life, because it's going to, one way or another. That's all for this one. Now let's get back to empire building. Bye.